Okay, what's going on, everyone? This is episode number 8 of Ear to the Canvas. I'm your host, Ryan Truland. We are fresh off of UFC 250. It was a pretty great card, honestly. A lot of good fights. Bantamweight division really showed out. We'll get into all of it. There's other things going on in the UFC. The UFC is a sport that never sleeps. We got a lot of stuff to get into in this episode. But before I get into all of it, I just want to remind everybody that Ear to the Canvas can be found on YouTube. Please subscribe and like the video if you enjoy what you're hearing. So it's not wasting any more time. UFC 250. We're going to go over some of the biggest fights, and we're going to look at what's going to be coming next for some of these fighters. Like I said, Bantamweight division really showed out on UFC 250. The Bantamweight division, the 135-pound division, does not need Henry Cejudo. Cejudo, if you guys remember, he was the double champ. He was the flyweight champion as well as the bantamweight champion before he announced his retirement after defeating Dominic Cruz on May 9th. It surprised a lot of people, kind of came out of nowhere. I still think he's going to be back at some point. But yeah, he wants more money. A lot of fighters are coming out. They want more money. There's kind of a fighter rebellion going on right now. You have Henry Cejudo retiring. You have John Jones retiring. Conor McGregor retiring. Jorge Masvidal, you can say he's sitting out. Not officially retired or anything like that. But money is a clear issue right now, and the UFC has a problem on its hands. Henry Cejudo has been quoted as saying that he will come back for the right price. John Jones has no problem fighting, wants to fight, but it has to be for the right price. He's been on Twitter saying that he wants about half of what Deontay Wilder gets for his fights. Deontay gets reportedly like around $30 million for his fights, so. And John Jones is the GOAT, so is he wrong? You tell me. Masvidal wants more money for his fights. Dana White just said that he just signed a new contract, Masvidal, a 7-fight contract, so he probably should have gotten on this bandwagon prior to signing that contract. And then Conor McGregor yesterday comes out and claims that he is hanging up the gloves. So that's 4 of the sport's biggest stars right there, all at least holding out for now. Dana White is not going to budge, though. He has been saying over and over, if they don't want to fight, they don't have to fight. He's related the UFC to sports like the NFL, where the NFL, there are mandatory things you have to do. It's not like that in the UFC. If you don't want to fight, you don't have to fight. And the UFC is just going to try and move on. I don't see them budging. I'm predicting that the fighters will budge before Dana White does. Or neither will budge, and we won't see Cejudo or Jones or Masvidal or Conor again. I don't think that's going to be the case. I do think we'll see all 4 of those fighters back in the octagon fighting for the UFC. It's going to be a matter of who bends first, and I think it will be the fighters. I think it will have to be the fighters. So anyway, yeah, back to UFC 250, Bantamweight division. It was really a pleasure to watch. We had, right off the bat, Sean O'Malley is going to be a contender in that division even faster than we all thought. Obviously, since we saw him on the Contender Series, the talent was obvious. And he's got the it factor, which some guys just don't have. Guys like, I like these fighters, but guys like Leon Edwards, great fighters, but they don't have the star quality to them. Sean O'Malley has that in spades. He's already come out and said that he wants to renegotiate his contract and he wants to fight in a main event in his next fight out. I think that's a little bit of a reach. I think a co-main event spot is going to be where he'll land. Now the question is, who's going to be next? The rankings are not out yet. I wouldn't be surprised to see a ranking next to Sean O'Malley's name. And I definitely think he'll be fighting a ranked opponent next. He has not fought a ranked opponent yet. Right now, the rankings are, like I said, not exactly updated. I could see O'Malley fighting somebody like Sonya Dawn. John Dodson would make sense. Rob Font would make a little sense. Cody Stamann, I don't know. I think he'll move up and fight somebody bigger, maybe like Pedro Munoz. I don't know. But yeah, somewhere in that 12 to 15 ranked range. Rob Font's at 10, but that still makes sense. It's going to be a ranked guy next for O'Malley, and I think he will prove again that he is already on the fast track to the bantamweight contendership. He's going to be fighting some of the best guys in that division real quick. As for the fight against Eddie Wineland, there was not much to say. It was a near perfect performance again, just like in his last fight. He could fight in a few weeks if he wants to. He didn't take any damage. And he put out a lot of damage. That spinning kick to the body was brutal. He's got heavy hands. He's never uncomfortable in there. When he's getting pressured, he's looking to counter. He's not frantic. He's just staying calm, looking to counter. Otherwise, he is on the gas pedal, pushing forward, and puts people on their ass. And he did it again with Eddie Wineland. Really impressive. I believed him when he said he was going to get a first-round knockout. And he delivered. I can't wait to see. He's going to be back this summer again. I would not doubt it. He's going to make a quick return. And it'll be interesting to see if he does land that main event spot. Again, I think it'll be a co-main event on a fight night. That's what I think will happen. Otherwise, I think he'll be on a pay-per-view. He won't be a co-main event on a pay-per-view. I don't see that happening. But definitely main card. Can't wait to see. Let's see, more bantamweights. Let's start with Aljamain. Aljamain, another flawless performance. He got a hold, he pressured right away. He pressured Sanhagen right away, got a hold of him, locked in the body triangle, and from there it was just about getting under the chin. They were both so dry, so Sanhagen just couldn't get out of that. Got himself in a bad position, and Sterling is strong. He's a great grappler. And he proved again why he is the most deserved bantamweight for a title shot right now. He's more deserving than Peter Yan. He's more deserving than Jose Aldo. But he's going to have to wait. Dana White has reaffirmed that the fight for the now vacant bantamweight title, Cejudo had it. It's now vacant. That title fight is going to be between Peter Yan and Jose Aldo. Sterling will be next. He will fight the winner. Honestly, prior to the win over Sanhagen, Sterling deserved that title shot more than both of them. Now with the win over Sanhagen, the way that he just dominated him and got locked in the finish in 88 seconds, you can see that his resume is just better than both Yan and obviously Aldo. Aldo has lost 3 out of his last 5 fights. He's a big name. He's one of the best to ever do it, obviously. But right now, it should be Sterling versus Yan for the interim belt. That's the fight that should be happening. But obviously, Sterling will be next. And I think he's the best bantamweight in that division right now. So we'll see. Alright, let me just take a quick break to tell you guys about our sponsor, Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's an app available to download on your computer, iPhone, or Android, and it's the easiest way to make a podcast. For starters, it's free. Everything's free on Anchor, and it gives you all kinds of tools that allow you to record and edit and create your very own podcast right from your computer or phone. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, man, how do I get my podcast out to the people? Well, Anchor even distributes your podcast on all the biggest platforms such as Spotify and Apple Music. You can even profit from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Anchor is everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Go download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Alright, co-main event, another bantamweight bout. You saw Cody Garbrandt make his return back to the winning column in the most impressive fashion possible. He loaded up and put everything into that right hook at the end of that round. That was at the end of the second round. And Assunção went down, and he had trouble getting back up on the stool even. It was brutal. And now the question is, what did they do with Cody? Cody is obviously a former bantamweight champion, guy who came into the UFC and dazzled and had a lot of steam behind him. And then he obviously had some setbacks. He had the whole feud with TJ Dillashaw, and then he got knocked out twice by him. Then he came back and got knocked out by Pedro Munoz, who sucked him into a firefight in which Garbrandt came out the loser. Now, he looked great in this fight against Assunção. So fast. Joe Rogan said it was the fastest we've ever seen Cody. In his opinion, I don't disagree. It was definitely at least as fast as he was, when he was getting the title, getting the bantamweight strap. And he was calculated. That was the thing. He was calculated. And that was good to see from Cody. He switched camps. He switched teams for this camp. And it proved to be successful, obviously. Now the question is, what do they do with him? How fast do they move him up the ranks? Coming into that fight, he was at 9. Obviously, he's going to move up. Probably to like 7, I would say. Maybe 6. Maybe even 5, honestly. Sanhagen lost, Assunção lost. They're both ahead of him. He'll probably jump Munoz and Rivera. I wouldn't be surprised to see him at probably 5. And then where do you go? Where do you go with him? He could fight Sanhagen, who is going to be looking to make a quick turnaround after that quick loss. Sanhagen's no joke. If that was your first time watching Corey, that kind of sucks because you didn't actually get to see him fight, really. He's no joke in that division. And a fight with him and Cody would be must-watch TV. Other than that, he could fight the number 1 contender, Marlon Moraes. That would be just speed. That would be just 2 of the fastest guys you'll ever be able to see in the octagon facing off. That would be a crazy fight. Marlon Moraes' switch kick is next to none. Yeah, I think he's going to fight Moraes or Sanhagen. I really do. Yeah, Cody he's going to be a contender in that division again. You can see he's still in his prime, obviously. It's all about, can his chin hold up? And we didn't really get to see, because Assunção kind of looked uncomfortable in there. He was obviously the smaller guy. He was having trouble finding the range. He didn't really touch Cody with anything too powerful, so it'd be interesting to see him in there with Moraes or Sanhagen and to see how he holds up once he gets touched. But yeah, the bantamweight division, they really showed out, and clearly they do not need Henry Cejudo. The flyweight division, on the other hand, does need Henry Cejudo, because you're going to have Figueiredo fighting Benavidez again for the vacant belt. And then who do you have? I mean, Alex Perez looked good. He obviously finished Formiga with the light kicks. Askar Ostarov, Brandon Royval. He just looked good. He's already ranked number 11 after that one fight over Tim Elliott. That goes to show how shallow the flyweight division is, honestly. No big names, no stars in that division right now. So Henry Cejudo could definitely benefit the flyweight division, but the bantamweight division does not need him. Yeah, so let's go on to the main event. The main event, it was just 25 minutes of dominance from the greatest women's mixed martial artist of all time. The Lioness, just, God, nobody hits like her in the women's divisions. Nobody. And she's all around, too. You can't dominate her on the ground. The clinch, she's strong. And obviously on the feet, nobody hits like her, not even sideboard. Now it's a matter of who's next. She's cleaned out 2 divisions. I've heard Valentina Shevchenko. I don't like that, though, really, because Nunes has beaten her twice. Dana White doesn't like that fight either. We're not going to see that. Valentina's the queen of the flyweight division anyway. That's her natural division. One day, her and Weili will probably fight, and that'll be a hell of a women's fight for sure. But as for Nunes, I mean, Jesus, it's slim pickings. If you're looking at the rankings, those bantamweight rankings, very, very slim pickings. Do you throw Aspen Ladd fights pretty soon? If she wins, she'll probably be next. But again, that doesn't scream entertainment to most people. Holly Holm, she destroyed. She's ranked 2. Germaine Durandamy. Germaine put up a pretty good fight. Amanda took her down to beat her. Germaine's an incredible striker. And if she could, I think she'll be not next, but she'll get the one after. She'll get another chance against Amanda. Other than that, do you look outside the UFC? You might have to. Because there is nobody. Especially at bantamweight. At bantamweight, yeah, there's nobody. Aspen Ladd will be next probably, but she'll have to get that win. Yeah, like I said, Amanda's the best. There's obviously. Yeah, as for the Fight Island, announcements are coming this week, Dana said, with pictures, so that's exciting. We're probably going to see the inaugural card on Fight Island at the end of June, early July sometime. So that's very exciting. But a lot of great things with the UFC. The only negative is this fighter rebellion of sorts that's going on. So they need to straighten that out. Again, I don't know how. I think it's just a matter of who bends first, so it's probably going to take some time. Maybe once one of them bends, the dominoes will continue to fall and the rest will. That's possible. Last thing I wanted to get to was Herbert Burns. The Burns family is on fire. Herbert Burns is the brother of Gilbert Burns, who obviously dominated the former welterweight champ Tyron Woodley. That was about, 10 days ago. Yeah, he's probably going to be next for the welterweight belt. He's probably going to be fighting his teammate Kamaru. And as for his brother Herbert, he kicked things off this Saturday on the card. He was the first fight of the night, and he earned a first round submission win over Evan Dunham. And they had to do that at catchweight, but Herbert Burns said going into this fight that he predicts that him and his brother will be simultaneous champions in the UFC, which would be really interesting. Burns fights at featherweight, sometimes at lightweight. Like I said, this one was at catchweight, 150. It's certainly possible. It is certainly possible. Burns is, Yeah, Herbert Burns was not ranked going into that one. You'll probably see a number next to his name once they release the new rankings. He's impressive like his brother, and he is coming up. Obviously, they train together. Um, you don't want to go on the ground with either of them. And Gilbert Burns has taken it to the next level with his improved and now honestly like top tier striking. He's very confident on the feet now, and obviously you do not want to go to the ground and test that jiu-jitsu. And Herbert, like his brother, is a beast on the ground, and if he can level up his striking, he's going to be a real problem in the lightweight featherweight divisions. So yeah, again, a lot of great things going on with the UFC. I will be back on either Thursday or Friday with a new episode. I'm sure there'll be a lot of new news, probably some new fights announced, probably the Fight Island news. So we'll get into all of it. UFC 250, like I said, the Bantamweights really put on a show for us. Sean O'Malley, the Sugar Show. Watch out because the Sugar Show is coming to a main event near you pretty soon. I don't think it will be in his next fight, but honestly, I think he could beat guys like Rob Font, John Dodson. I don't think he would have much of a problem with John Dodson, honestly. He would be so much bigger and longer in there. And O'Malley already knows how to use that length and size. His striking is just getting better and better. He's only 25 years old. Obviously, I'm a big fan of his, and I can't wait to see who's next. It's going to be a quick turnaround. All right, please subscribe to Ear to the Canvas on YouTube. We will be getting guests back on here in a couple weeks. But as for me, we got a new episode coming out later this week. And stay safe, stay healthy. Ear to the Canvas, we're out.